locker room. This is the play that just occurred.
That's like she tries to slide over right there, and Hartley just kind of falls and makes collision with that lower leg. You see her immediately grab it. And she went down hard and was clearly in a lot of pain.
Own family were quick to call out the officiating for failing to protect players. To them, this wasn't an isolated incident but the latest chapter in a troubling pattern. The dangerous groin shot that sidelined Caitlin Clark, J.C. Sheldon's infamous eye poke, and Marina Mabrey's reckless foul. Every time Indiana faces the Sun, it seems someone leaves hurting and frustration is boiling over. But instead of folding, the Fever fought back. Kelsey Mitchell erupted for a career-high 38 points, Odyssey Sims made an instant impact on a hardship contract, and Lexie Hull drilled a clutch 3. Together, they powered Indiana to a stunning 99-93 overtime comeback, a win nobody saw coming after a disastrous first half. Now the question is, how did this team find the resilience to flip the script? If you stand with Sophie and the Fever, drop a message of support for her recovery in the comments. Let's go Fever!
Shot clock down to 6 for the Fever. Turner, up fade. Turner kicks it. Hull three-pointer. Bottom!
Indiana.
7 on the shot clock, 25 seconds in regulation.
They gotta get to the rim.
Charles has to hoist and connects. Wow. The Indiana Fever prove their resiliency.
For Indiana, the challenge started long before the opening tip. The Fever entered this game without any of their 3 true point guards. Caitlin Clark remained sidelined with the groin injury she suffered in mid-July. Sydney Colson was out with a torn ACL, and Ari McDonald was still rehabbing a broken foot. That left the roster without a natural floor general, forcing coach Stephanie White to completely reimagine how her team would run its offense. Instead of fine-tuning sets for the postseason like most teams at this stage of the year, Indiana had to strip the playbook down and lean on simplified actions designed not to over.
After Phoenix, it was a quick turnaround to figure out, how we're going to play without, Ari and Sid. And now we got to figure out how we're going to play without Soph. And we've got to figure out, who can play in certain roles. What are our substitution patterns going to be? What kind of wrinkles can we throw out there? It doesn't get easier. And I think we come back and have Minnesota twice, right? So it's really good mentally, physically, and emotionally for us. And then it gives us practice time, which we're going to need.
The obstacles only mounted once the game tipped off. Midway through the second quarter, Sophie Cunningham went down hard in a collision under the rim. She logged barely 10 minutes before being forced to the bench for good. Cunningham's shooting and grit had been essential to Stephanie White's makeshift rotation, and losing her meant Indiana wasn't just short on bodies, they were suddenly short on spacing, one of the pillars of their offense. With Cunningham out, roles expanded for players unaccustomed to heavy minutes, while White and her staff were left juggling energy, matchups, and sheer survival. By halftime, the Fever's rotation looked dangerously thin, and the team was left patching leaks wherever they sprang.
The finish line.
We got Sophie Cunningham writhing around in pain, definitely hurt, and Sophie's one tough cookie. If Sophie's kicking and screaming like this, no Will Farrell. She's in pain. We even have Connecticut Sun players. Look at that. Connecticut Sun players, Connecticut Sun training staff coming up to her as the Fever starts making their way down.
On paper, everything pointed to a loss. But instead of folding, the Fever leaned into the chaos, using it as a chance to showcase their grit. It was survival mode, but also a statement that a short-handed roster didn't mean a soft one. What no one inside the arena knew then was that the toughest moment of the night was still ahead. It came when Sophie Cunningham's brutal collision not only reshaped Indiana's rotation, but also reignited the outcry over how the game was being officiated.
Every day in our huddle, that's what we say together. And it's just more than words for us. I think when you see things happening, there's no other way. If you spread apart, the season goes down quicker than anything else. And we talk about with the injuries, people are probably expecting us to just fold, just like you said, and that's not us. We come in the locker room and we're motivated. We continue to be motivated every single time we step on that floor. At halftime, we're motivated, chip away, and that's our mindset. And just continue to uplift people. When one person goes down, we say it all the time, the next woman stands up. And that's really really just been our motto and been what we've had to do a lot this season, and that's what we're just going to continue to do.
The defining moment came midway through the second quarter in one of the season's scariest scenes. Driving to the rim, Bria Hartley lost her footing and crashed directly into Sophie Cunningham's right knee. The collision froze the arena. Cunningham immediately clutched her leg, screaming as she collapsed to the floor. Unable to put weight on it, she was helped off by trainers, with the Fever later confirming she would undergo an MRI to assess the damage. What fueled the outrage even more? No foul was called on the play. That decision sent shockwaves through the crowd and quickly spilled onto social media, where frustration erupted over the lack of protection for players.
How does she magically lower her shoulder into Sophie Cunningham's legs? Can somebody please explain that to me? Can somebody please explain those physics? Again, don't want to hear it, because this is a dirty player.
Many rising to their feet, waving at officials, and shouting for a stoppage as Cunningham writhed in pain beneath the basket. Yet play continued, and the image of her motionless on the floor only deepened the anger, not just in the stands but on the Fever bench as well. Their starter had to be carried off, and still there was no whistle, no signal from the referees. Afterward, Coach Stephanie White admitted her first thought upon seeing Cunningham in such obvious pain was raw and unfiltered.
Do you have an update on Sophie? Yeah. Yeah, MRI tomorrow.
Sorry, just quickly on Sophie. I mean, what's going through your mind when you see her down like that, and you're jogging over there?
I'm like, holy shit. I mean, especially the way that she fell, and how she was holding herself, and how much pain she was in. At the time, it's like crap, and then you go down there and you see her, and it's like, okay, just want her to calm down and be able to regroup.
Fans reacted instantly, many rising to their feet, waving at officials, and shouting for a stoppage as Cunningham writhed in pain beneath the basket. Yet play continued, and the image of her motionless on the floor only deepened the anger, not just in the stands but on the Fever bench as well. Their starter had to be carried off, and still there was no whistle, no signal from the referees. Afterward, Coach Stephanie White admitted her first thought upon seeing Cunningham in such obvious pain was raw and unfiltered. If emotions were already high, they boiled over once Cunningham's family spoke out. Her sister Lindsay aimed directly at the WNBA, posting, "WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more on hiring officials who can call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you." That wasn't just frustration from a fan in the stands, it was family publicly calling out what they viewed as a dangerous environment. Sophie's mother, Paula Cunningham, also weighed in with a now-deleted post, describing Hartley as plain mean and playing out of control. The comments carried weight, amplifying how the play was perceived. For many who saw them, it reinforced the belief that players simply aren't being protected.
Bria Hartley deserves zero benefit of the doubt. And Sophie Cunningham's family not too happy. I believe this is Mama C. Hartley is a disgruntled player having trouble everywhere she goes. She's playing mean and plays out of control. Looked out of control to me. Maybe you should focus, her sister. Maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are capable to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you. The only good thing positive surrounding Sophie Cunningham coming out of this game, she looked in good spirits in the locker room.
At the center of it all was the question of accountability. Hartley's history of on-court clashes only magnified the reaction, and her role in Cunningham's injury sparked outrage. Fans on social media blasted her as reckless, with many calling for suspension, while others demanded the league step in and re-examine officiating standards, intentional or not. The absence of a whistle on the play was the breaking point, pushing frustration to its peak. But from that anger came a shift. The game was no longer about sympathy or waiting for the officials to adjust. The Fever turned inward, fueling themselves with raw emotion and resilience. And as the closing stretch loomed, all of that intensity channeled through one player who changed everything. Kelsey Mitchell. Quiet in the first half with just 4 points, Mitchell completely flipped the script after the break. She demanded the ball, hunted every matchup, and delivered one of the most explosive scoring performances in franchise history. By the final buzzer, she had poured in 38 points, tying her career high and setting the league's single-game scoring mark for the season. Even more remarkable, 34 of those points came after halftime, including 10 in overtime when Indiana needed her most.
I'm so proud of you. We're proud of you too. Proud of you. I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yep. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. Your never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And
Mitchell's efficiency matched her volume. She went 11 of 22 from the field, 5 of 8 from beyond the arc, and 11 of 12 at the line, while adding 6 assists to keep the offense from collapsing into one-on-one play. Every shot carried weight, with the margin of error razor thin. The Fever had trailed by as many as 21, and one empty possession could have flipped momentum back to Connecticut. Instead, Mitchell delivered in the biggest moments, step-back jumpers in the fourth, back-to-back threes to erase deficits, and clutch free throws to lock down overtime. It wasn't reckless gunning. It was poised, precise execution under pressure. Afterward, Coach Stephanie White admitted she was nearly speechless, saying Mitchell put us on her back, big shot after big shot, big play after big play. From the sideline, it looked exactly that way. Even the Suns' defenders, who shadowed her relentlessly through the second half, couldn't disrupt the rhythm she had found. By the time overtime arrived, there was no question whose game it belonged to.
Kelsey, your second half, you had 34 of your points just now.
Damn!
The last after halftime, what took over you? How did you get it done on the floor?
I think it was more about what we did from a standpoint of like the mindset and the mentality from half to half. It sucked for me first half. It just wasn't, and I think that, it wasn't as well for our group, but the resiliency is true in our room. Seeing Soph go down and then knowing what happened with Sid and knowing what happened with Ari, and then knowing what happened with Cece, it's like, I think a lot of it was just God and being able to like stay prepared and stay in your mental state to be able to compete. But I really think that that's the most resilient that we've ever been because of everything we've been through. So I think a lot of it you just tap into your team and you just love on your team, and I think, great things can happen.